Have you ever walked into a room and forgot why you went there? Or struggled to find the right word mid sentence? Hi, friends, and welcome back to Life After 55, the channel where we explore real health struggles in plain English with a little help from nature and a whole lot of help from God. In our last episode, we talked about natural ways to handle stress and anxiety. If you haven't watched that one yet, I encourage you to check it out because chronic stress is actually one of the biggest causes of brain fog. Today, we're digging into something many of us over 55 know all too well. That fuzzy, forgetful, mentally drained feeling we call brain fog. Now, it's not a medical diagnosis, but it is real, and it can be a sign that something in your body or your lifestyle needs attention. You aren't alone, and you're not losing your mind, but your brain might be waving a little white flag. Stay with me as we explore what causes brain fog and how to start clearing it naturally, step by step. Now, just a quick note here before we dig in. Oh, wait a second. Let me put myself out there so you can see me. There we go. All right, so a little housekeeping before we dig in here. I am in no way, shape, or form a doctor or medical professional, not by any stretch of the imagination. What I'm sharing today is based on personal research, real-life experience, and what's worked for me and many other people over 55. Always talk to your healthcare provider before making any changes at all to your health routine. Now, let's break this all down together. All right, what causes brain fog? There's a number of things, and the first thing we're going to get into is sleep, or I guess I should say poor sleep. Sleep isn't just about rest, it's about restoration. While we sleep, our brains sort memories, repair cells, and flush out toxins. But if you're only getting 4 or 5 hours of broken sleep, or you're waking up multiple times every night, your brain never gets the deep healing rest it needs. Even 8 hours in bed won't help if it's not quality sleep. Over time, that leaves you foggy, forgetful, and mentally drained before the day even starts. So sleep is very important, and it's something to take into consideration. Next on the list is chronic stress. And again, like I said, last week we talked about, last 2 episodes we talked about stress and anxiety and poor sleep. And how chronic stress plays into that. So stress isn't just emotional, it's also chemical. Long-term stress raises cortisol, which can interfere with memory, focus, and decision making. It can even shrink a part of your brain called the hippocampus. Now, that's the area responsible for storing and retrieving memories. When you think about hippocampus, think of it like your brain's filing cabinet, and when it shrinks or it gets overwhelmed, you start misplacing your mental files. So hence you become confused and kind of daffy, or what some people would call daffy. The next thing on the list is blood sugar swings. You don't need to be a diabetic to have blood sugar related brain fog. Let's say you eat a high carb breakfast, toast, cereal, juice, and you feel good for a bit. But a few hours later, you crash. You're tired, you're irritable, and you're foggy. That's a blood sugar crash. Repeat that often enough, and it can lead to insulin resistance. And research shows that's a big risk for dementia. Okay, so how do you keep blood sugar stable? Well, you can eat protein and healthy fats with every meal. Avoid processed sugar and white flour. Don't skip meals. Take a short walk after you eat. Stay hydrated. That's very important too, as we're going to get into here shortly. Another cause of brain fog is nutrient deficiencies. If you're low in B12, vitamin D, omega 3s, or iron, your brain can't operate at full capacity. You might feel sluggish, foggy, or like you're thinking in slow motion. These deficiencies are especially common over 55, and they're easy to test and correct with the right help. And again, if you need a medical professional, by all means, you should seek out, a medical professional and let them know that you're having, bad sleep or whatever, or, deficiencies in iron or, like I said, B12, vitamin D, omega 3s, all those things are going to contribute to brain fog. So if in fact that is occurring for you, you might want to go see your medical professional and get an evaluation from him or her. All right, next on the list is dehydration. Like I said, this is very important because even mild dehydration can impair memory and focus. If you're only drinking coffee and not much water, your brain might be running dry. So you got to try to aim for 6 to 8 cups of water a day. Now, if water's not your thing, add lemon or mint or something like a cucumber or something to keep it interesting. Herbal teas count for hydration as well. Another thing that causes brain fog is medication side effects. Some meds like blood pressure pills, anti-anxiety meds, or even over-the-counter allergy or sleep aids can cause confusion or mental fog. If your fog started after a new medication, don't ignore it. Talk to your doctor. There may be an alternative. Okay? All right. So where are we now? Inflammation. Chronic inflammation from poor diet, autoimmune issues, or gut problems can cause something called neuroinflammation. Now that's brain inflammation. It's being studied as a major factor in fog, memory loss, and even Alzheimer's. If you feel foggy and bloated, stiff, or achy, it might all be connected. Okay, so those are the major things that cause brain fog. And now we're going to get into help for mental clarity on the natural side. So, like I said, now that we've looked at what causes brain fog, let's talk about what you can actually do about it safely, naturally, and without having to turn your whole life upside down. These steps may seem small, but they can have a big impact over time, especially when you put them together. All right, so first of all, you should prioritize your sleep. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. Your body or your brain loves rhythm. It does. And once you get into a routine, your brain will appreciate it. Trust me on that one. You try to wind down 30 to 60 minutes before you go to bed. Try chamomile tea or magnesium glycinate. Now, there are a couple different kinds of magnesium supplements out there, and there's one called magnesium L-threonate, or threonate, I'm sorry. And that's also good, but that's a little harder on the stomach, and it's got some side effects that may affect you. So magnesium glycinate is a lot gentler, and it basically has the same effects as the other magnesium supplements do. Okay, so again, talk to your doctor before you try any supplements or whatever, especially if you're on other meds or whatever. They may, interfere with them or not cohabitate with them, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word or not, but and then keep the room you're sleeping in cool and dark, your bedroom. I'm assuming we're all sleeping in a bedroom. And then another thing you can do, to try to calm you and go to sleep is pray or meditate to calm your mind. Now, if you snore or wake up gasping, get checked for sleep apnea. Okay? Another thing is diet. Healthy fats like salmon, walnuts, flaxseed, avocado, these are all great things for your brain fog. They help your brain levels to you become clearer. And again, this isn't instant; it's over time. More things is like berries, leafy greens, colorful vegetables, and then clean protein, things like eggs, beans, yogurt, chicken. Those are all great for mental clarity, and you need to start to try and avoid processed and sugary foods. Another thing you could do is you could try a 12-hour overnight fast. Believe it or not, it helps. For example, try having no food between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. And again, I can't stress this enough, stay hydrated. Okay? Drink throughout the day, not just when you're thirsty. Start your morning with water before coffee. Just a side note here, one of the things I was taught in my career was to drink a glass of water first thing in the morning, like right after you get out of bed, before you have coffee or breakfast or juice or anything else. Drink a glass of water. It kind of jump starts your brain, and it gives you clarity pretty much. And I don't know, it's just it worked for me. And again, like I said in the disclaimer at the beginning, these are all things that have worked for me, and I'm hoping that they will work for you as well. And that's why I'm sharing it here with you. Herbal teas also count. You know, you can add lemon, like I said, cucumber, or even mint or something in plain water if plain water bores you. Okay? All right, next, consider herbal support. Gotu kola, for example, is great for memory and focus. Ginkgo biloba, we've all heard of that, I'm sure. That's good for circulation, and that helps the blood get to your brain better than it is now. That's a great supplement to try. And again, I can't stress enough, make sure you consult with your doctor before you try any of these things. As far as supplements go, I mean. All right, and then rosemary. Even the scent can help alertness. You know, again, always check with your doctor before using herbs, especially if you're on meds like blood thinners or blood pressure drugs. Those are going to kind of affect, the dosage and whether or not you should even take it in the first place. So again, check with your doctor or your medical professional before you do any herbs or anything, and they can probably push you in the right direction. Okay? Another thing, exercise. A 20-minute walk improves brain oxygen and it improves focus. Stretching, Tai Chi, chair yoga, these are all great options. Even if you are limited in your mobility, things like just stretching out, chair yoga, those are all relatively simple. And again, you're not running a marathon or anything. Do it at your own pace. Even cleaning, gardening, or light chores count. If you move your body, you wake up your brain. It's simple as that. Okay? And again, you've got to supplement smartly. Talk to your provider about vitamin D3, about vitamin B12, about magnesium glycinate, or, threonate. Magnesium L-threonate. Again, that one, it's effective, but it has some side effects, like diarrhea, stomach cramps, that sort of thing, for some people, not for everybody. So again, check with your doctor. Omega-3s too. You can get that from fish oil. That's what I take. I take I guess soft gels or whatever they're called. But that's what I take anyways. Lion's mane mushroom. Now, early research shows promise for memory. Now, don't overdo it. Start slow and keep track of how you feel. Small changes add up. Even walking more, drinking more water, or getting better sleep can start clearing the fog one day at a time. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up now. And before we wrap things up, you know what time it is. It wouldn't be a complete Life After 55 episode without a little biblical encouragement, now would it? So let's take a moment to feed the spirit while we're clearing the mind. Now, I'm going to be reading a verse taken from the New Testament, and it's found in 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. Now, let me grab my Bible here. Excuse me. Now, 2 Timothy is found in the New Testament, and it is, I believe, right before the book of Titus. Which, well, no, let me see. It looks like it's right before the book. It is before the book of Titus. And we're going to the first chapter and the 7th verse. And now I'm reading from the King James Version, and if you'd like to follow along in your Bible, help, by all means do. But the verse reads as follows. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, and of love, and of a sound mind. Okay? Now, again, I find these verses that I read encouraging, which is why I share them with you, and hopefully you will find them encouraging as well. Excuse me. Brain fog can make you feel uncertain, frustrated, and even scared. And I mentioned that, I think in the last episode where I spoke about my dad died from complications of Alzheimer's. And to me, that was one of the scariest things I've ever seen up close and personal. To watch him go from what he was to what he became, as far as just losing his mind. And by losing his mind, I don't mean he went crazy. He just didn't know who we were. He knew, the only person he knew was my sister, because my sister basically was his caregiver. But I used to visit him as much as I possibly could, which was like, once a week. And, over time, he didn't even remember who I was. And just as a side little story, and I don't even know if I should share this or not, but I'll take the chance and do it anyways. I was kind of the black sheep of the family. I have an older brother, and I had a younger sister. She has since passed. But my older brother was the kind of guy who did everything right. He got married, right after school. And he, had kids. He had a house. He had a car. He had a boat. He had all this stuff. And I remember my mom always saying, when are you going to settle down and get married? When are you going to settle down? You're 30 years old, blah, blah, blah. And yes, I was a late bloomer, but, and my dad kind of was on my mom's side with that, but he didn't really vocalize it as much as she did. And finally I did get married, and I had a son, and I was so happy to finally do it. And I remember I lived in another state, and I flew back to the state where my parents were, and I brought our newborn son. He was only probably a couple months old at that point in time. And I wanted to introduce him to my dad, and I brought him up to my dad. And I said, hey, Dad, I said, this is Cameron, and he's your grandson. And my father just blankly stared at me and said, who are you? And that was probably excuse me, probably one of the toughest things I've ever endured or whatever. But anyhow, that just gives you an idea of how far the Alzheimer's had affected him, and he didn't last all that much longer after that. So my son never really got to know his grandfather, at least on my side. And anyways, I don't know, maybe I should cut that out of the video, but I just wanted to share that. But, again, I take comfort in, God hasn't left us to wander in confusion. He gives us a spirit of clarity, a sound mind, and the peace to keep moving forward, even on foggy days. Okay, now, if today's video helped you or encouraged you, would you please do me a favor? Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this with someone else who might be struggling with brain fog too. Remember, we're building a community here to share triumphs and challenges, to lift each other in spirit with encouragement and prayer for all. The more you engage with the videos by watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing, it helps the algorithm, and it also helps to put these videos in front of more people who may benefit from them. Now, leave a comment down below or email me if you would like prayer or if you need help finding more resources. I'll put the email address down below. Here we go, down below. And I also want to assure you that any and all prayer requests that I get will be prayed for, and they're kept confidential. Keep in mind, your prayer request can be about anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be about brain fog or anxiety. It could be you're struggling financially, you're struggling with family issues, you're struggling with your job, whatever. God listens to all prayers, and I have time to pray for people. So if in fact you have a prayer request, it can be about anything. And if it's embarrassing to put it in the comments, email me. Remember, we're in this together. Okay, and again, I will put the email address in the comment section below. Excuse me. Okay, all right. So in our next episode, we are going to be talking about something that affects nearly half of all adults over 55, and it's often called the silent killer. Believe me, you're not going to want to miss it. Now, I'm not going to tell you what it is just yet. I just want to leave that as kind of a teaser so that you'll come back and watch next week. But believe me, like I said, you're not going to want to miss it. It's something that affects nearly half of all adults over 55, and it's also called the silent killer. Okay? Until then, stay encouraged, stay sharp, and remember, there's life and clarity after 55. God willing, I'll see you next week. So until then, bye-bye.